The pallid light of dawn filtered through the window pane of a nondescript apartment nestled amidst the urban sprawl of Wilmington, Delaware. Sitting at the dining table was a figure of quiet resolve, Detective Jane Austell, a woman known not for her flair, but her unswerving dedication to justice. Her slender frame, a silent testament to her past battles, was hunched over a barely touched plate of eggs and toast, a silent tableau of tension and grim determination. Each bite she took was a victory, a defiance against an old nemesis, her eating disorder. She chewed slowly, with a sense of deliberation that contrasted the feverish race of her thoughts. Her solitude was interrupted by the shrill ring of the telephone. A call from the precinct was expected, yet she felt a strange knot of apprehension forming in the pit of her stomach. "Austell," she said, her voice clear and steady, cutting through the static on the line. "Jane, we've got something." The voice on the other end was that of Detective Davis, her trusted confidant. His tone carried a weight that immediately piqued her interest. Something big and dangerous, tied up with the police station. Rumors had whispered of a secret harbored within the heart of Wilmington Police Station, a secret shrouded in unethical practices and the shadowy promise of biological weapons. She felt an icy shudder course down her spine, not of fear, but of anticipation. For where others saw a threat, she saw a challenge, a call to which she was compelled to respond. As she prepared to leave her apartment, she glanced back at the half-eaten breakfast. A grim smile tugged at her lips. This was a war, and she had just won a small but significant battle. Stepping out into the chill of the Delaware morning, she headed towards the imposing structure of the police station, a fortress that towered over the cityscape. It stood there, silent and brooding, holding its secrets close to its chest. "Remember, Jane," Davis had warned her during their conversation, "this is not a usual case. The rumors, they are deeply entwined with the personnel in the station. Don't trust appearances." She entered the police station, the daunting edifice swallowing her in its grim shadow. She cast one last glance at the sunlit streets of Wilmington before turning her gaze to the dark corridors within. There was a mystery to unravel, a wrong to be set right. The Wilmington Police Station, a hulking monolith of cold concrete and sterner hearts, swallowed Jane Austell into its cavernous belly. Its hallowed halls whispered tales of valor and virtue, but her sharp gaze caught the undercurrent of fear that shivered in the air. The lighting was sterile, casting long, sinister shadows that danced in her peripheral vision. Each echo, each footfall bounced off the austere walls, painting an eerie backdrop of suspense. The station was alive in a disconcerting manner, its veins pumping secrets instead of blood. Her first interaction was with Officer Wilkins, a man of formidable size and inscrutable demeanor. His eyes held a flicker of apprehension, betraying his otherwise stoic facade. "Detective Austell," he greeted, a forced cordiality in his voice. "What brings you here today?" The discourse was veiled in polite platitudes, each word chosen carefully, like navigating a field laced with potential mines. She watched as Wilkins expertly danced around her inquiries about the rumored activities, the air growing thicker with every non-answer he offered. Hours stretched into an agonizing waltz of shadows and secrets as she interrogated each officer. The same routine of evasion and deflection played out like a well-rehearsed act. Yet beneath this veneer, she could taste the tang of fear, potent and visceral. Her exploration led her to the bowels of the station, a labyrinthine basement that hummed with an unnatural energy. A particular door, secluded and heavily fortified, drew her attention. It pulsed ominously, a dreadful heart in this concrete body. Her request to explore further was met with guarded silence and, inexplicably, a hint of terror on the faces of the otherwise unflappable officers. Her last interaction for the day was with Sergeant Reynolds, a veteran with decades under his belt. His eyes were hard, yet when he glanced at the locked door in the basement, she saw a flicker of dread. His veiled warning came as a hushed whisper. "Some doors, detective, are better left unopened." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the police station was cast in an otherworldly glow, its austere facade rendered ethereal under the moon's pale gaze. Jane left the building, her mind filled with gnawing questions and troubling revelations. The city slept around her, blissfully unaware of the shadows lurking within its heart. Her reflection on the ride home was interrupted only by the gnawing pang of hunger, a reminder of her personal struggle, an echo of her unresolved battle. Her face hardened as she reached for the fruit in her bag, another small battle won in her unending war. Dawn arrived with a fresh wave of anticipation that crashed against the shores of Jane's resolute mind. The breakfast routine, a daily struggle against the shackles of her past, played out with increasing comfort. As she set out, a steely resolve sharpened her gaze. Today she would break through the ominous silence guarding the basement door. The Wilmington police station, under the gray shroud of mourning, appeared more as an ancient monument, a gravestone to forgotten truths, than a symbol of law and order. Its secrets whispered through the morning wind, elusive as ever. Inside, she strode purposefully toward Sergeant Reynolds, the stoic sentinel whose haunted gaze still echoed in her thoughts. A strained exchange followed, laced with pleas and threats, each volley of words probing for cracks in the other's armor. It concluded with a key, heavy with unknown horrors, landing in her hands. As she descended into the station's underbelly, the air grew colder, thicker, as though time itself had congealed around her. The door stood before her, more ominous now than ever, a beast in slumber waiting to be roused. With a deep breath, she turned the key. The door groaned open, revealing an abyss that defied explanation. The room was a gateway, a tear in the fabric of reality that yawned open to an alien world. She found herself staring into an abyss of swirling colors and shifting landscapes that ebbed and flowed like tidal waves. The sight was as dreadfully beautiful as it was horrifying, an impossibility that shook her understanding of the world to its core. It was a cosmic sea, a glimpse into an existence far beyond her world. The rest of her day unfolded in a haze, her mind stuck in the horrific beauty of the portal. Her interactions with the station's personnel took on a darker tone, their fearful glances making sense now. She understood the weight of the warning she had been given. Some doors were indeed better left unopened. As she returned home, the echoes of the portal's existence reverberated within her. Each bite she took for dinner held a newfound significance, a reinforcement of reality against the backdrop of the unimaginable. The simple act of eating became a grounding ritual, a reminder of her humanity amid the revelation of such inhuman vastness. The night veiled the city in its comforting darkness, a stark contrast to the alien realities she had glimpsed. She knew she had ventured past the point of no return, yet an inexplicable pull called her back to the abyss, back to the otherworldly landscapes that defied comprehension. She was a lone sailor now, caught in a cosmic storm. As she laid down to sleep, she braced herself for the voyage into the maw of the unknown, into the heart of cosmic terror. The abyss was waiting, and she would dive headlong into it. The Wilmington police station, a fortress of ominous shadows, stood before her once more. Its secrets, now partially unraveled, seemed to gaze at her through its cold, concrete facade. The portal awaited in the heart of the station, its presence of vile corruption spreading through the veins of the building. The door to the conduit yawned open as she approached, a silent acknowledgement of the dread that lurked beyond. And then she stepped through. Surreal vistas stretched out, warping and shifting under an impossible sky. Creatures that defied earthly comprehension moved in the distance, the land pulsating with their grotesque, unearthly beauty. Each excursion through the portal tested her sanity. The sights, the sounds, the feel of the alien worlds was a constant assault on her senses. But within this maelstrom of horror, she found a strength forged from the heart of her struggles. The more she explored the cosmic horror, the more she recognized the echoes of her personal battle against her eating disorder. Each time she forced herself to eat, to assert her will over her past, she was preparing for this, asserting her will against a reality that sought to consume her identity. Interactions with the station's personnel took on a macabre tone. She could see in their eyes a reflection of her own dread, coupled with a strange resignation, as though they had gazed into the abyss and surrendered to its will. She realized then the depth of the conspiracy she had stumbled upon, its roots entangling not just the police station, but her own existence as well. Days blended into nights as her exploration continued. Her life was split between two realities: the mundane familiarity of her apartment, her city, and the unimaginable vastness of the cosmic horror within the police station. She would wake, eat, and then step into the unknown. She knew that the true battle was just beginning, a fight against both her own demons and the cosmic horror that was now a part of her world. As she bit into her breakfast the next morning, her gaze hardened. She was ready. The abyss had stared back at her, but now it was her turn to stare back, and she would not blink. Her confrontation with the station's personnel was a tense ballet of revelation and accusation. Every question was a piercing shaft of light cutting through the veil of ignorance. Every response was a desperate defense against the onslaught of truth. Officer Wilkins was the first to crumble under her relentless inquisition. His admission was not merely of the portal's existence, but also of his own participation in maintaining the dreadful secret. His tear-stricken face mirrored the torment of his soul. As she revealed the monstrous truth to the other officers, she saw a multitude of reactions. Some faces mirrored Wilkins' guilt and regret. Others displayed denial or even defiance. Regardless, her words had sown the seed of truth in their hearts. Finally, she faced Sergeant Reynolds, the veteran who had first warned her about the dreadful door. He was silent, his gaze hardened as he listened to her revelations. When she finished, he merely nodded, in acknowledgement of her truth and his own failure. His eyes held a glimmer of respect and a whisper of sadness. Her return to her apartment that night was a journey of victory, not against the cosmic horror, but against the fear and ignorance that had imprisoned her in the station's personnel. The mundane familiarity of her surroundings now held a comforting embrace, a stark contrast to the alien landscape she had dared to navigate. Her dinner that night was a celebration, an act of joyful defiance. She reveled in the taste and the textures, acknowledging the pleasure of eating without the shadow of her past. It was a minor victory in the vast cosmic drama she was a part of, but it was hers to claim. As she settled down for the night, she was not afraid. She knew that come morning, she would eat, and she would face the day with renewed determination. The cosmos could wait. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more similar stories, and click on the bell icon to never miss one. There is plenty more cosmic horror to come from the Eldritch Tales Factory. Stay tuned, and until next time.